Hi students, we're back for another anthropology lesson, and this time we're going to look at religion, the religion chapter in our textbook. Religion in anthropology is not a controversial topic at all. So if any of you were thinking, ooh, religion, controversy, think again. We're not ethnocentric at all when we talk about religion in anthropology class, and so what we need to do as anthropologists is simply understand that religion exists in every culture in the world that anyone has ever known or heard of, and therefore it's a part of human behavior, and we investigate each religion and religious practice and ritual and belief system and all that kind of thing from the point of view of the person who practices it without judging them for their practice. So we are not in the business of saying this religion over here is correct and the right one that you should follow, and this religion over here is not. So we're not in the business of making those judgment calls. We simply investigate the fact that all human societies have religion, and sometimes multiple religions, but religious beliefs exist as part of human behavior and norms in cultures everywhere. And so that's the way we look at religion. So, religion has a really long definition in our textbook. It's one of those long run-on sentences that have so many commas in a series. I think there's 10 or 12 things listed as things that religion, characteristics of religion or parts to religion, components to religion. And so really what we're going to look at today in this little short lecture is simply what those things in the list are and what they're all about. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know about religion from an anthropological perspective is that religion is something that we call a social institution. Now, a social institution is it's a major part of society. It exists at the macro level in a society, and the macro level means that it's across populations as a whole. And what a social institution does is it fills a need that large groups of people in a population in a society have. So the need that religion happens to fill for people in societies everywhere is people have questions that science and history and other kinds of things that you can study from an academic standpoint, religion can answer certain questions that academics and science cannot. For instance, human beings are very, very curious sorts of animals, and we ask all kinds of questions. Questions like, when I die, is there some place that I am going to go? I mean, my body might stay on the earth, but do I have a soul, and is my soul going to go someplace? There's a question, a major one people want to know the answer to. There's also questions like, is there a God? Or are there multiple gods? Or are there just spirits? Or is there something that exists in a different realm, for instance, than what you and I exist in? These are kinds of questions that come up. We know for a fact that the earth exists because we're standing on it right now, but do we necessarily have definitive proof, scientifically definitive proof about how exactly this earth got here the way that it is now? There are theories that are pretty darn plausible, these theories, and science can give you close to accurate information, or close to empirical evidence to support the theories of Big Bang, for instance, for how the Earth came to be and how life on the Earth came to be. But you can't set up a scientific experiment, a lab experiment, or a controlled situation where you can actually test to make sure that that's exactly how the Earth got here. And so that's simply an idea of how the Earth got here, and it's an idea that's relatively recent in human history. And before science started tackling the answer to that question, religion had already answered it. Religions all over the world try to answer those kinds of questions, and that fills a human need. And so that's why we say that religion is a social institution. It exists on the macro scale in a society. For instance, in the United States, we don't have to be just in the United States, all over the world, the United States is known as a Christian country. Now, that doesn't mean that all of us are required to be Christian. That doesn't mean that all of us are Christian, or believe in a God at all. We don't even have to be religious practitioners at all in order to be, citizens here and be part of it. But what religion as a social institution means is that the fact that religion exists, it affects the norms, it affects the social structure, it affects the daily lives of you and me on the micro scale, on our daily interaction level. And so some of the norms that we have to deal with in our daily lives as people here are affected by norms of Christianity, since that's the dominant religion. If you are Buddhist and you live here, your daily lives and behaviors that you go through as just being, a citizen of Arkansas or a student at Pulaski Tech, some of the things that you encounter in your daily life are effects of Christianity. For instance, I hope you're registering for your classes for next semester. The schedule is available online and you can sign up for classes anytime. See an advisor first. Anyway, so for instance, when you are signing up for classes, there are no options to take classes on, say, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. You'll see Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but not Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And why not? Well, because Sunday is a day reserved for the weekend, and what are the activities that tend to happen on a weekend? Church activities, or Sunday being the holy day of Christian calendars. And so you can't go renew your driver's license either. You can't, do all kinds of things that are official state business, or even some private businesses aren't open on Sundays in observance to the holy day. So even if you are somebody who practices Confucianism or Shinto or some other religion other than Christian in the United States, that's perfectly fine with us. We're tolerant of that, but you still can't go renew your driver's license on Sunday either, for instance, because some things are beyond our control and some things are affected so deeply into the norms of society by religion that that's what religion as a social institution means. Okay. So we always say that religion is a social institution that is characterized by several things. And the first thing that we'll talk about is sacred stories. I've already alluded to that to a certain extent because of the answers to the questions that religion provides. And so if you look, for instance, in the Christian Bible, the Old Testament of the Bible, you will see stories, sacred stories, that explain how the earth got here. And so it gives believers something to hold on to and take an explanation for, so that you can know, you can have that information about the answer to your question, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can put faith in the answer to that question. And so every religion has sacred stories. And it might be fun for you to do a reaction paper for this time to look up some sacred stories from a religion that maybe you've always wondered about, or, just in general see what some of the sacred stories are around. There's a lot of flood stories in religions around the world. There's always a creation story. There's redemption stories of all sorts. And anyway, so it might be interesting for you to do a reaction paper on that for this particular unit. Another characteristic of religions is that all religions have symbols that go with them, whether they are colors, whether they are shapes, like a cross, for instance, or the fish, the ichthys fish that you can see on the back of some people's bumpers, or a Quran, hanging as a medal or a pendant, on a necklace, or a Star of David, or any of those kinds of things are symbols that are specific to certain religions, certain major world religions. There are also pictures of deities. We will talk about a deity in just a second. There are pictures of deities that some religions have. There's statues of gods and goddesses, and images that you and I can look at and try to understand and relate to here, and make a connection to those kinds of things. And so religions all over everywhere have symbols and a lot of symbolism in them. Okay, so I just said the word deity. A deity is a god. That's just a fancy word to say God with a lower g, lowercase g. Okay, so another characteristic that religions all over the world have is that, or characteristic that they have, yeah, that was right, is that religions propose that what we call immeasurable beings exist. And when I say immeasurable beings, I'm talking again about like what you and I can sense with our senses. Can we see, touch, smell, hear, taste, those kinds of things? If we can do that, we know something exists. Well, with these immeasurable beings that religion suggests, we don't have the use of our senses to know that they exist. We have to believe that they exist because the symbols are there to represent them, or because the sacred stories tell us so, and that kind of thing. But all religions propose the existence of immeasurable beings. So whether your religion is polytheistic, which means that there is a belief in multiple gods, or whether your religion is monotheistic, which means you believe in the existence of one God, whether your religion is atheistic, which means you do not believe in any immeasurable beings whatsoever, or whether your religion is animistic, which means that you believe in spirits, lots of different spirits that control certain things and that we share with inanimate objects and things like this. Regardless of what sort of way you address this idea of immeasurable beings, religions always have components in them that talk about the fact of the existence or non-existence of immeasurable beings. And so that's another common characteristic that you find in religions all over the place. Okay, and so we're going to pause the video right now, and I'm going to give you another part of this long definition of religion in another video. So look for it soon. Thank you.